Hello class, my name is Hallie Palomar and today I'm going to be shedding some light towards the topic of Daca. Hopefully by the end of this presentation you are able to think to yourselves if you think Daca is ethical or not. Now, what is Daca? So since 2017, there's been an ongoing debate on its morality and legality. Daca stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and it is also known as the DREAM Act. You might have seen on the news that the recipients are called the Dreamers. So basically, it was developed by our former president, Barack Obama, during 2012 through an executive order. However, each individual who want to apply for DACA first have to qualify by meeting a number of requirements. So DACA basically allows young undocumented immigrants that arrived in the U.S. before the age of 16 to remain in the country and protect them for 2-year periods from being deported. However, DACA doesn't provide its recipients a pathway to obtain citizenship. It is simply just a protection from deportation. Some benefits of it include the ability to pay for their education, because by DACA or through DACA, they will be able to receive a work permit, and some employers that carry health insurance, these recipients can also benefit from that. They can also receive educational grants, and basically as long as you pursue an education in the United States, serve in the Army or the Coast Guard, and pass a background check, you will be eligible to apply. So what is the issue here? Basically, DACA is an abuse of executive power because it is unconstitutional. Now I will explain more about this in the following slides. So just hold that thought for now. Second bullet point over here is it's an expensive policy. Taxpayers do pay a little bit more at the end of the year in order to keep DACA. DACA recipients are also being perceived as a threat to society. I think it's because of the stigma of being an illegal immigrant. And by removing DACA, it's basically taking away the rights of these young immigrants to remain in the country that they've known as their home and for almost pretty much their entire lives. People who are for DACA will argue that deporting innocent children who have seen America as their home for pretty much their entire life is immoral. I mean, that does make sense. Imagine one day you come home from school and you see on the news that they're taking away DACA, which is the only thing that's keeping you from being deported, and you are now in trouble because you've pretty much been in the country since you were about 2 years old, and now the president wants DACA to be rescinded, meaning you got to go back to your home country, and you barely remember anything from your home country because you came to the United States at such a young age. Secondly, DACA recipients and undocumented immigrants who have stayed in the U.S. for a long time have contributed to the country as much as any other person that's a U.S. citizen. So why does that make them any different? Alright, so right now we're just going to argue the morality of DACA. However, we're going to do that by seeing this in a point of view of a rights ethicist. Now hang on here because this is going to be a lot of information. Since DACA recipients who have stayed in the U.S. for a long time have contributed to the country as much as any U.S. citizen, like what I said, it's unethical to just remove their rights to have an education. According to rights ethics, this is actually in the textbook, this quote right here, if rights are the creation of society, as cultural relativists claim, then rights can be removed by societal laws. DACA protects the undocumented children's rights to remain in the country and the right to work, have a license, get an education, etc. Without this one act without DACA, according to law, these rights will be removed from them. According to a lecture by Professor Falcioni, natural rights theories claim that we have certain rights by virtue of being human, as humans alone have rights because of our special creation in the image of God. Democrats believe that the right to a proper education and healthcare is a natural right. If you are born, you are automatically entitled to the right to a proper education and healthcare. However, Republicans see this more of a privilege. They believe that those two, education and healthcare, they're not necessities. They're not natural rights. They're more of a privilege because the only reason why it's made possible is because U.S. citizens pay tax dollars for it. The Democrats' views are more similar to natural rights ethicists because natural rights ethicists believe that human rights are inalienable and cannot be taken away, no matter who you are, whether you are an illegal immigrant or you are a U.S. citizen or you came to the U.S. legally. With DACA, Democrats believe that being undocumented does not take away the fact that these children are still human beings at the end of the day and deserve the right to remain in the country that they were raised in. Now, we're going to explain the morality of DACA through a different moral theory, which is called ethical subjectivism. DACA's morality is pretty much subjective here. For example, saying DACA is wrong and should be rescinded is not a fact. 2 + 2 = 4 is a fact. Saying DACA is wrong is simply an opinion, and its morality is subjective. The creator of DACA, President Obama, claims it to be morally correct, while President Trump had it terminated in 2017 because he believes that it's not correct because it's unconstitutional. So you can be anyone. You could be a president. You could be just another regular citizen of the United States. And you can say it's ethical or not. It's not a fact that DACA is ethical or not. Its morality is subjective. Alright, so here are the views of people who are against DACA. They don't like it because it was never really a law that the Congress passed. President Obama took advantage of his executive power and he passed it himself. And the reason why it is unconstitutional is because it violates Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, which is Congress shall make a uniform law of naturalization. In this case, it wasn't Congress who made this law of naturalization. It was simply former President Obama. The Congress needs to be the one to make the immigration laws here, not the president. Another argument is coming to the U.S. illegally is not fair to those who immigrated here correctly and followed all necessary steps to legalization. That does make sense because there are a lot of people out there who are in line following the specific steps just to attain that legalization, just to be here legally with papers. So how is it fair that people who one day just decided to cross the border or decide to arrive in the US as tourists, how is it fair for them to receive legalization by just coming here that easily versus the people who are getting in line and following all necessary steps? Another point is DACA is costly to taxpayers. Taxpayers who don't support DACA believe that DACA should just be removed because it's just adding on to the taxes that we already have. And another one, you might hear this one's pretty common. They argue that they're taking resources that are meant for U.S. citizens and they commit crimes and they are a threat to society. You might have heard that from people who are against DACA, that they don't want them here. They want them to go back to their country because they believe that they're just a threat and they're taking our jobs, etc. So that is pretty much it. I want you to think to yourself, Whose side are you on? Do you think Daca is ethical? Do you think Daca is unethical? Do you think it's necessary, or do you think that it should be rescinded? Again, my name is Hallie Palomar. I hope you learned something new today, and thank you for watching this presentation.